What time is it? It's like 9 a.m. All right, here we go. How to build and scale a profitable YouTube channel. Here we go. All right. So getting into this, getting the bookmarks going, 1 to 10. We've got a batch of 12 videos going out over the next 10 days here filming in Bali. So we've got to start getting our ideas together. We've got a good pack here. Packaging first, getting the thumbnails good, getting the titles good, getting everything lined up, making sure we are locked and loaded. All right, let's start looking for some systems videos here. What do we got? All right, here we go. So basically just looking at a bunch of outliers here across the platform, trying to use these as the starting point, making sure that your title and thumbnail are lined up, good to go, because at the end of the day, that is 90% of the battle here on YouTube, given the fact that this is a click and watch platform. This ain't Netflix, this ain't television, you really gotta just earn the click. So because of that, it all comes down to nailing the packaging. Too many people jump right to production, end up wasting 20 hours, 30 hours, creating some work of art, and for all that to lead to a video that no one even ends up clicking on. It's a damn shame. So if you're looking for great packaging, one way to get that right is this tool right here. So I typically like to go to my filters when I'm looking at anything, and I'll typically go to multiplier. I'll make it like a 3x multiplier here, which means that it's 3x that channel's average of views. So an outlier means it's performing way better than that channel's average. I like to look at stuff that generally is getting like over like 150,000 views, has a duration of over like say 5 minutes, because most of the videos on our channel are about 12 minutes and 30 seconds. And then I look at stuff over the last 3 months to see like what's been bubbling up on YouTube like super recently, so that it's all like fresh off the press, the newest, bubbliest stuff we got. All right, so we apply these changes. All right, and what's now happening is that based on my search query here inside of 1 of 10 of systems, it's going, and based on those filters I just entered, it's bubbling up the best outlier research around systems. All right, some quick water here because it is spicy here in Bali. Let me tell you, we just arrived in Ubud today. Myself, Diego, Mr. YouTube producer over here, making it happen.
First live.
There we go. This is the first of many lives, y'all. We're just at the Founder OS retreat here in Bali. Just drove a couple hours here now. Just wrapped up after 6 days with a bunch of legends. And one of the things I think we've kind of taken away from it is like, we're going to start streaming. We're going to become world famous streamers here. So buckle up, because this is the first of many. We're going all in. And so, exactly. We just crossed 200K. So if you're one of those 200,000 subscribers on my channel, just want to say, I salute you. Thanks for being a part of this amazing founder freedom movement. Thanks for jamming with us. This is the start of something beautiful, and you're early, because this journey's barely even begun. All right, so as you can see here, right, we're seeing a lot of stuff, but honestly, I'm not too satisfied with this. So we're gonna mix it up a little bit. We're gonna go to entrepreneur, maybe content. Let's just see what's coming up. Search that just to kind of mix it up. A lot of you guys, there we go. This is some packaging right here. The dumb content strategy that made us millions. Big fan of that one. We're bookmarking that. Boom, boom. All right. That is bookmarked. That is a certified banger for sure. So what I'm basically doing there is I'm just like drawing inspiration from this stuff, right? There's no better way to, release of giants than just kind of like to see what else is cranking out there and to learn, because at the end of the day, success leaves clues. And so 1 of 10 is basically scouring YouTube for all those little breadcrumbs everywhere, and then giving you the chance to stand on the shoulders of proven formats, proven research, so that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Because honestly, most of success, it's just that, right? You don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? Just, kind of leverage stuff that's already working. And then, as they say, steal like an artist. So, you may find a thumbnail over here that you really like, and then you may have an idea that you've been wanting to make a certain kind of video, and then in a certain location with a certain cinematic vibe to it, and so you're going to kind of mix your own creativity, a few different references that you've gone and found, and then mash all those things together into something that's uniquely you, right? But the kernel of it started with some solid outlier research, so that make sure the damn thing gets clicked. All right, so that's a bit there. Now, some other things I'm using oftentimes and to come up with amazing ideas. So as you can see here, YouTube channel, things have been blowing up these days. You can see here, last 7 days, the growth, 47% week over week. Like, damn, things are happening. So we're doing about 1 million views a month now. This has been a long time coming. Let me tell you, we ain't in my backyard anymore filming janky videos. So when I go to my playlist here on my channel, I oftentimes also like to just, as I'm kind of viewing different YouTube videos, if I see something that's caught my attention, I go and I save it to my titles playlist. And so, as you can see here, I may have a little bit too many playlists, get a little too when I'm on YouTube. But at the end of the day, playlists are a great way to kind of save the stuff that's working for you. So here you can see there's this titles. All right, there we go. I saw this video earlier today and I was like, you know what? This is pretty badass. How to create SOPs using Loom and Notion. So, I may want to go create a video around how to create systems using ChatGPT and Loom AI, right? And so what I'm doing here is essentially going and saving a ton of different videos that have caught my attention on YouTube. Things like the easiest way to edit better videos, my entire plan to make $30 million in 2026, the laziest way to build an aesthetic body, right? So these inspire me to go and create stuff in my own niche. So instead of the laziest way to build an aesthetic body, maybe it's the laziest way to scale a YouTube community or YouTube channel, right? So I can essentially go and just remix that title for my niche. And this is the same sort of strategy I've used across a lot of different platforms, to be honest. This same sort of methodology of basing your content off of outliers doesn't just work on YouTube. This is the same stuff I've used to scale on X as well. So here you can see my X profile, 384K people here. This thing cranks. And over here, there's this this photo here that I drew this, about a few weeks ago when I was in London, England, getting my morning Americano. This is how to build a plan for October to actually achieve your goals. Well, guess where the hell that hook came from? Yep, you guessed it, 1of10.com. There was a outlier that I had found that was all around how to make a plan for 2026 to actually achieve your goals. And I essentially just took that same sort of title, remixed it, made it around making a plan for October. And then from there, I just drew up how I go and I make plans. And so you can see here, I've gone and, put kind of vision, coming up with one word for October, the dream outcome that you should have by the end of the month, how I want to feel by November 1. Let me tell you, we're feeling it. From there, the one domino, which is really the one thing that you can do that makes anything else easier or unnecessary, and then why that one thing really matters to you, because if it fires you up, you got that burning desire, you can basically get anything done. And then I like to map my one thing across business, personal, health, and relationships. So all this to say, this whole thing was based off of that outlier research. And you bet this thing performed. So 1.6 million views, over 20,000 saves. Pretty freaking insane. And then 26,000 likes. And by the way, this is all organic, right? So whether it's my YouTube audience, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it, it's all organic. So pretty cool. And the thing is, I think a lot of people, when they're approaching their organic content, they don't approach it with this level of attention to details. And details create cash. Details create growth, right? Details create magic. And when you pay attention to these little details, right? Your title, your first sentence, does your first sentence get people to read the second sentence? What's your call to action with stuff? It's stacking up all of these little details that make something great. There we go. Quick photo from today. This was at dinner here in Ubud. Let me tell you, this place is it's pretty magical. So that is a little bit on the outlier side of things. What else we got here? Let's get into some maybe questions that you guys have. All right, what do we got? We got 15 folks live here. Let me tell you, we got like a small little classroom here. All right, what questions we got? Yeah, so Alka Mentor. Yeah, I think you need to try some new thumbnails. When I first started creating thumbnails for YouTube, truthfully, I did not have a clue what I was doing. So I think this is probably one of the most overlooked aspects of YouTube. So many people make a video, they edit it, they put something out there, and the packaging, the title, the thumbnail, it's all an afterthought, right? And so you want to actually start moving that packaging research to the beginning of your content workflow. Now, on the subject of content workflow, why don't I just kind of give you guys a bit of an overview as to, well, how I kind of do this whole content thing, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are curious. And so, well, here it is. So this is the FounderOS content workflow, okay? Now, how I do things versus how most people do things, as you know, is that we're all about scaling with smooth systems. Having built businesses over the last 16 years, what I've learned is that if you don't have systems, you're quickly not gonna have a life, because it's the systems that allow you to get out of the bullshit and be able to focus on the stuff that really brings you joy. Most of my days are spent in things in my zone of brilliance, things that bring me joy, things that I love to do, that I'm great at, that the world needs, that my community needs, and anything that does not fit that criteria, it is off my plate. Now, as you look to go and build your brand on these platforms, I think you should aspire to be more than a creator, because truthfully, you're running a whole business too, right? We're not looking to make money off of just ads like most creators. And we're sure as hell not looking to be some influencers, right? We want to be CEOs. And to be a CEO, you need to be really operating this like a personal media company with a team, scalable systems in place, multi-platform strategies, a scalable, really validated offer, and the right people in place to free up your time. And so there's kind of two approaches then, right? You have either writing first or video first. Writing first is if you feel more comfortable writing and you go X in LinkedIn, whereas video first, you may be using things like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. So now this is where people oftentimes are asking for my help inside of FounderOS, which is the community of high growth founders that I run. And so they want my help actually going and structuring their teams. So this is kind of a quick snapshot of what my team looks like, right? So I've been building things for quite some time. And while my team has gone and scaled out over the years, it wasn't always that way. And I'll show you in a sec how it's scaled up over the years. But when you're thinking about scaling your team, initially, it is just you, right? You are the chief everything officer. But as you start to want to scale up, I think, when you're looking to scale your YouTube channel as an example, you should be focused on bringing on a video editor to help you with all the editing, because you shouldn't be doing that all yourself. And sure enough, you're probably going to want to get a thumbnail designer, because we just went over the importance of packaging, right? If someone doesn't click your video, they ain't going to watch. Now, as you continue to scale things up on the media end, You're eventually going to want people like a social media manager. You may want a full-time designer and even a copywriter to help you with a lot of the infrastructure behind actually driving people from your audience through to actually purchasing your offer. That infrastructure includes things like welcome series, onboarding series, different emails that you may get folks to go and become aware of your offer, how you serve people, different case studies, the problems you solve, all that fun stuff. But hey, that's a massive amount of stuff that I can go over at another time. So, bit of background on me. This is kind of how I started FounderOS as an example. 5 years ago, had the dream of helping founders with proven systems scale their audience, their brand, their community. And it was just me scaling the audience from 0 to 40K, focused primarily at the time on Twitter, grew the revenue to $30,000 a month. And at the time, it was called something called Soulful Entrepreneur, this cohort-based course based on Zoom, Slack, using Stripe for payments. So we kept it super minimalist because I had to keep it minimalist. It was just me. And you should probably do the same. If you're getting started, don't let the tech get in your way. The most important thing is to just fucking launch. All right, quick sip. So, side note here is that if it feels like spinning plates at this stage, that is completely normal. Eventually, you start to prove it out. And what I would recommend that you do is you hire where the pain is. So where you feel the pain, you can't keep running all the tech, hire a tech guy. You don't want to be paying all these invoices yourself, hire a finance guy. This is exactly what I did. And I had validated the offer, scaled revenue up to 100K. The audience was now ripping on Twitter as well as LinkedIn, all organic without spending a dime on ads, using the same content systems that I give folks inside of FounderOS to build their own organic founder-led brands. And it just kept on ripping. At this point, we have complete, product market fit, the offer scaling, the team is scaling. And, it's really at this stage that I start to just focus on setting the audience on fire. And so I'm now moving things to short form and long form video. We're getting onto Instagram, we're getting onto TikTok, we're moving on to YouTube, and we are starting to scale up the content team. And then we need a sales team because, someone's got to keep the fucking lights on in this place. So what you'll notice though, is along all of these stages, we keep the tech simple, right? We're still just using like Zoom here, folks. We've now introduced School for the community, but we're still using Stripe. We're using ConvertKit for newsletters and Loom to record the curriculum, right? Just, keeping things simple, not overcomplicating stuff. Too many founders make stuff way too hard. And truthfully, they end up becoming the bottleneck in their business because they just overcomplicate shit. It's like self-sabotage 101. And so what I'm always trying to do is keep things insanely simple, asking myself, what can I delete? What can I automate? What can I eliminate? What can I systemize, right? Which then, if you do this right, moves you swiftly to phase 4, how to scale your own profitable empire. And so team's getting pretty big here, but the truth is that we have big aspirations at FounderOS. And so it really took an amazing, robust team to not just grow out the content, but to be able to provide an insane level of support to the founders inside of FounderOS who are using our team to help them go and scale their founder-led brand, remove themselves from operations, and be able to go and leverage the same way that we've built FounderOS, which is by documenting all our core systems, having a calendar with over 50 live sessions per month, as well as going and having access to the amazing community of high growth founders. People want to replicate this in their niche, and we get hit up all the time by CEOs, experts, creators that want to go and build their own OS, right? And so it's kind of meta that way, right? But people are joining this because they see that it's scalable, that it's fun, that it's super profitable, and they want to go and install these sorts of systems inside of what they're building. Now, this is the phase we're at right now. Phase 5 is mastery, scaling beyond $1 million a month. This is just my own experience, not saying this is any guarantee of what you're going to go through, because as you can see here, this has been years and years and years of hard work. But that said, this is just my story, and may give you a sense of what's possible when you find your joy in life, you put in some hard work, you get some systems working hard for you as well, make some great hires, and maybe have a little luck along the way. But as I take a step back, it's this focus on sort of the product, the creative, the founder experience that I think over the years has really set us apart and been able to get us to this stage in just 4 short years. So you may be going, well, Matt, this all sounds good, but how the hell do I compensate these people? Well, this is kind of a big cheat sheet in terms of the different roles inside of a personal media company and what you might go and pay folks, right? So whether it's social writers at around 7K per month, or things like X and LinkedIn, a video editor, which depending on the editor is probably going to cost you between 1 and 1.5K per long form video, and between $200 and $400 per short form video. On the tech side, I mean, it obviously depends on the ranges here, whether it's just like a kind of indie hacker all the way through to a senior software engineer. So we're talking like 4K to maybe 10K, depending on experience. On the finance side, I think many people, one of those first 5 hires should be a fractional CFO or chief financial officer to ensure that they're handling their books, doing the bookkeeping, have good reporting, good projections, and are able to go every month and compare budget versus actuals to understand month by month how you're performing, as well as get a Friday CEO scorecard with things like your percentage to projected revenue, percentage to projected cash collected, your margin, and the 3 to 5 things that you can be doing as CEO from the CFO's perspective to go and improve your business and keep on compounding. Because from my perspective, the best entrepreneurs act like investors. And the number one thing in investment is to never stop the compounding. Okay, but we can get into that another time. So as you can see here, right, we got copywriters, social media managers, closers, setters, all that good stuff. This is kind of a quick cheat sheet for you. You probably want to take a screenshot of this so that as you're building your personal media company, you can make sure you're scaling it up with the right people in the right seats, with the right comp and incentives, and really just getting after it. So as I see people kind of go and look to build their team, where I see people get caught up is like, well, Matt, I don't know if I can afford to hire. How do I think through hiring? This whole thing's kind of scary. Well, let's get into the delegation math side of things, okay? So let's just say you're looking to go and bring on a social media manager. What I want to go and show you here is how my brain thinks about delegation. Again, I approach it from a standpoint of being an investor. And what I'm looking for someone to do is to save my time, help me generate revenue, and build more leverage. Okay. And so when I'm looking at bringing on a social media manager as an example, the cost of that new hire, let's just say the social media manager was $7,000 per month. Okay. And I was posting all of my own content on X, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I remember when I made my first social media manager hire in my first business ever 16 years ago, that person instantly went and saved me about 30 hours a week or 120 hours a month. Okay. And when I think about my hourly rate these days, it's around $20,000 an hour. But let's just say back 15 years ago when I was 21, my hourly rate was around $1,000 an hour. Okay. And so you can see here then in all the yellow cells, we need to just input those variables. And then what happens is it outputs the return on investment of that hire. So let's just say I was running a business with a 50% profit margin. What this is showing is the following. First off, it's saying that the return on investment of this hire, given the assumptions, is 7.6x. Okay, so it's 7x ROI. Now, what it's doing is essentially saying, okay, well, Matt, if you reallocated those 120 hours and you did it to make revenue generating stuff and made 120K per month at a 50% margin, that's 60K of profit from your reallocated time. You subtract the 7K from that, you get 53K of net profit after accounting for the cost of that hire. And then the 7.6 here is simply the 53K divided by the 7K of the hire, which means that, you're going to drive 53K of profit from that 7K hire, a 7.6x ROI. So your job as the CEO of a personal media company, and then when you're looking to go and scale a profitable YouTube channel, is to think about what are the highest return on investment things that you can do to scale that channel. Early on, that's getting a video editor. Later on, that's probably getting a thumbnail designer. Even later on than that, it may be starting a second YouTube channel. Even later on than that, it may be having separate YouTube channel experts that own a channel, right? And so on and so forth. And so you're always just playing this game of making the highest ROI investments in priority order. And as you keep doing that, you buy back your time, you gain more leverage, and you keep multiplying the profits and outputs of your business. And most importantly, building a team, a brand, a life you can be proud of, because it's not just about the money, it's about the artistry. So hopefully that all makes sense. I'll leave that there for a sec. Let's get back to any questions folks might have. All right, what do we got here, y'all? Where are we at? All right, we're live here. We've got 27 legends in here. All right. Things are moving. Max, thank you for the kind words. Appreciate you, brother. All righty, y'all. What questions do we got here? Oh, we got Daniel Maddalena on here. There we go. The absolute legend of a closer here at Founder OS. Guys, I'm going to put in the chat here. For those of you that want to go chat with my good friend here, Daniel Maddalena, go and fill out that quick application there, founderos.com/apply. You get a free 15-minute systems audit with my team to go and help you analyze which part of your company is likely keeping you stuck right now. And then we can go and help you figure out that one area and then, maybe see what we can do to help you inside of Founder OS. So honestly, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So definitely just go and check out founderos.com/apply, y'all, and go and chat with my good friend here, Maddalena. Someone's got to keep Daniel busy. So please book that, because I'm worried that, Daniel's just not busy enough here, All right, what else we got here, y'all? All right, Fractal, you just watched the 3 C's video today. It was great. Awesome. I love to hear that. It's been great, just chopping it up with all you guys, man. The channel's blowing up right now, let me tell you. All right, what other questions we got here? Tayaba is saying, bro, I'm having a problem managing studies, YouTube, and social media marketing agency. How you manage it? Well, I think it's important when you're balancing different things to batch them. So I would have, say, Monday and Tuesday allocated to studies, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to growing my social media marketing agency. Or I would dedicate from 5 a.m. in the morning till 10 a.m. in the morning to my own business. Then I'm always working on my own shit first. And then after I'm done that, I would take a break, go to the gym, come back, and from noon till 5, I would go and work on the other thing, or studies or whatever. I would do the studying later when I'm more tired. But first things first, first thing in the morning, always work on the thing that long-term you care about the most. I think that's definitely the move. All right. Julie's saying, you have mentioned 3 categories of content in your videos: value, storytelling, and behind the scenes. What if all 3 are so different? Well, the cool thing is you can blend different sorts of categories in one video, right? And if you find they're really different, well, then no worries. You can just make one kind of video per thing. So, if you go to my channel, and I can go and share my screen and show you kind of different examples of formats we go and put on my channel. So when we look at my YouTube channel, there are a few different formats we have, okay? There are talking head style, number 1. There are deep dive systems, number 2. And then there are white sessions. So if you go and you look at this video here, how to force yourself to be consistent and do hard things, this is what I would call a talking head style video. It's me in my London apartment going and just straight to the camera, giving a bunch of value. And then my post-production team goes and takes that recording and the 2 camera setup we have with an FX3 and a Fujifilm, and then go and mash that up with some awesome B-roll that we have to go and create a beautiful 12-minute, 56-second video. So that's that style. Now, number 2 is the deep dive video. So deep dives oftentimes take place, and they're rather similar to the talking head. The only difference is that I'm sharing my screen and I'm going really deep into a given subject. So an example would be this video right here, which is all around how to build a high ticket offer. So what I did was over 58 minutes, I dissected an entire Miro board that myself and Diego on my team had created. And this whole Miro board gets into all the different aspects of a high ticket offer that you need in place, from my perspective, to scale something that doesn't need to rely on ads and can be built using organic content. So we get into your offer and optimizing it. We get into how to go and position your brand, your organic content strategy, and so much more. Okay. So this is a really, honestly, kind of nerdy deep dive for those people that are really looking to go and scale a high ticket offer. And I go and break down all the nitty gritty bits of it. So this is, primarily for folks that are probably doing over 100K per month, that are really interested in more like the inside knowledge of shit. And they love that format from me. So the third format is something called our whiteboard videos. So one of the most popular whiteboard videos I've ever made is one with the legend, Mr. Ali Abdaal. I was in Dubai last minute. Diego, my head of video, and me had the idea of like, shit, if Ollie's in town, let's just go and, meet up with this guy. And let's just, have him come by my apartment, get a whiteboard out, and let's just help Ollie out. And sure enough, Ollie was creating a new productivity course and wanted to go and build a $5 million funnel around it. And we figured, let's sit the guy down. Let's help him out here. Let's see what we can do to kind of give him some clarity, because he wanted to start this whole new business unit. And he needed some help thinking about his team, his offer, his pricing psychology, and his next steps. And so we laid out the roadmap, we modeled it all out, and gave Ollie the clarity that he really deserved. And so these sessions are honestly, they're not scripted. They kind of just go live and, zigzag all over the place. We actually, by the way, have one coming out tomorrow. So if you're at all interested and want to go and actually see one that I'm making with some founders that are looking to get to $250,000 per month, well, then you should definitely tune in. We're launching that one in about 12 hours. So watch out. But, this format is really fun and makes up the kind of third pillar of our trifecta of formats. So we got talking head, we got deep dive systems, and we got whiteboard sessions. So that's just what I do. And I think for those of you that are newer to YouTube, honestly, your YouTube initially may feel like a variety show, right? It's going to be a little all over the place. And honestly, that's kind of how it's supposed to be. The reason why it's supposed to be like that is because you don't yet know what you're doing. So there's no reason to go and pick a format yet, because you're still just experimenting to see a mix of what you want to create and what your audience wants you to create and enjoys from you. So it should feel playful. It should feel fun. You should just be experimenting with things, not taking it too seriously, and not feeling like you need to make a major decision on what the hell you're going to put out there, because, candidly, you're just getting things off the ground. So approach it like a variety show, play around with different areas, have fun with it, and just listen to your audience, right? Very much to when you first launch a business, it's your job to actually launch the product that will help you determine what product your audience actually wants. Well, it's very similar to YouTube, right? And each video is like a little experiment. We are listening to folks and seeing gradually the trends and signals you're getting from people as to what you should double down on. So there. Of course, Jenna, that's what we're here for. Those detailed answers. It's all in the details. So, Florin, you're asking, how soon would you say someone should start hiring? Well, why don't you just put your revenue and profit in the chat so we can hear from you here and give you a hand, so I can learn kind of, well, where exactly are we at here? All right, Serenesh, you're saying you're taking full notes. Awesome. That's what it's all about. All right, we got 15 people here live. Guys, quick side note. If you're watching this, do me a favor and go and share this with 2 entrepreneur friends you know. Let's get, some more founders going here, and let's share this with a couple people we know that we think could be served from this kind of knowledge, right? It's all about, paying it forward. And that's why I'm here, is to pay it forward with the knowledge that I've learned over the last, 16 years, and make sure that you guys are getting the clarity that you deserve to get to the next level in your business. And it'd be great if you could also pay it forward with an entrepreneur in your network, because again, that's what it's all about, right? As a founder community here, just trying to help one another out. We're all in this together, right? So, and Janesh saying, anybody who needs video editors, everything professional like Matt or Amon, I can provide you at great prices. There we go. All right. Well, we got a video editor here in the chat. So anybody that needs an editor, Ashtush is your guy. All right. What else we got here, y'all? All right. Well, why don't we just go and finish up a little bit more there on the content workflow side of things. So let's see here. What do we got? All right. So here comes the real sauce. Okay, guys. So let's get into the different workflows that exist across the different kinds of content. So this is my writing workflow. Okay. So everything starts on the far left side here with ideation. Okay. I'm typically going and saving different ideas that I find that I like on X, on Pinterest, on Instagram collections, and from books I'm reading. And I'm essentially just constantly just being inspired. This is an example side of Readwise. I hook it up with my Kindle so that I can, oh, that's not working. Okay, well, I'll show you another time. And I'm able to save different things that inspire me in the books that I read. So I'm getting those ideas. I then start writing them, and then I distribute them with the help of my social media manager, Nick. From there, we analyze different performance of content and feed that back into ideation, so we keep getting smarter with the content that we're putting out. On the video workflow side for things like YouTube, it's a little bit more complicated. So we're going and coming up with a bunch of ideas in a Google Sheet. We're ranking them based on the ones that we like the best. Those then are shifted into a content calendar that we have, which is controlled by Diego, my head of video. And then from there, we start conceptualizing them. We record them. We typically batch our recording. So I'm here in Ubud, Bali. I'll be recording 12 videos over the course of around 6 days, so about 2 a day. And that's how we like to do things. Me and Diego and my team, we meet up around every 6 weeks to batch a bunch of videos. And then I'm just back to regularly, scheduled CEO stuff the rest of my time. So I like to batch my recording about once every 6 weeks. And then we move on to editing, to distribution, and then analyzing performance. Nick manages all that on my team, who's our social media manager or head of distribution, and feeds that back into our ideation so we can keep getting smarter with what we put out there. Always trying to get 10% better with every video, which is 13,800 times better by the 100th video that we put out. So on the ideation side, okay, guys, this is one of the best frameworks for going and coming up with really amazing ideas. It's called the 5-year reflection. Essentially just going and thinking about yourself 5 years ago. So I can imagine Matt when he's 31 years old. I'm currently 36. And think, okay, well, what was the systems, the playbooks, the problems, the stories that would have really helped Matt at 31 years old? And I know the kind of stuff that would really have helped me is like, well, Matt, here's my approach to making kind of profitable content, or here's my approach to scaling a media company. And so very much a lot of the stuff I'm sharing with you guys on YouTube is really just me sharing stuff that I knew I would have appreciated someone sharing when I was 31. At the time, I had, built BitMaker and sold that. I've been building Herb for around 9 years, and was looking to now really start taking my founder-led brand super seriously. I had an idea on how to scale it, given the fact that I'd been building media companies for about 11 years at that point. But that said, I was still somewhat new to the whole personal brand thing, nervous, tripping over limiting beliefs, and approaching things with a level of perfectionism, which was just not useful. And so a lot of stories that I go and share with you guys are honestly just stories that I'm really just sharing with the 31-year-old version of myself. Now, as you go and start thinking about the different kind of categories and things you want to share, what can also be useful is this content idea machine, right? Coming up with lists, tools, guides, systems, summaries, data, math, reasons, trends, expert quotes, failures, obstacles. It inevitably just, you have an abundance of stuff, in your head around these things that if you just shared that shit, you can inspire a lot of people. And so the Idea Machine is a great way of just getting it out there. And honestly, you just got to learn to ship that shit versus letting it get all stored up and waiting for the perfect time, because the perfect time never comes. So on the creation side, this is sort of what my creation focus looks like. Okay. So on the idea side, especially on video, Diego on my team, head of video, takes care of all the ideation. So I'm primarily getting involved when it comes to helping flush out some of those ideas in terms of what we're actually going to film so that it comes across super authentically. I'll typically look at a concept, I'll film a Loom video on it, and then Diego takes the Loom video that I've made and then translates that into a flushed out concept brief. So that way we then go and print off those briefs. I have printed briefs on paper that when I'm going and filming, I can simply look at a brief, I can understand what it is in terms of the talking points I need to hit, and I can just go and riff in film videos. Very much to how I'm riffing with you right now. There's no plan here, there's no script. I'm just riffing. So on the edit, that's then passed off to Memo, one of our editors on our team who's insanely talented. And then it's published by Nick, our head of distribution. It's repurposed onto platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. We then get the analytics from it and then feed that back into our ideation workflow. So this is the workflow from ideation through to analytics. And if you're missing a piece here, that's quite possibly why your videos are falling flat. And so at the end of the day, I know I've gone over a lot of stuff here, but hopefully this has been a useful live session for you guys. One quote I want you guys to remember is slow is smooth and smooth is fast. We've gone over a lot of stuff here, but if you just took one insight from this, okay, one, and you implemented that in the next 24 hours, right? And then you did that over and over for the rest of the year. Imagine how much further you'd be, right? A year from now, right? Probably insanely far. In fact, just 1% better every day probably gets you to about 37 times better in a year. So it's that compounding, those little improvements that we're after here on this long and beautiful journey of entrepreneurship. All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun. I hope a lot of you guys got a lot out of this. We're going to be doing a lot more of these. So if you want to see more of these, I'd love you to go and share this live with some friends. I'd also appreciate you sharing the channel with, for those of you that have different friends in Slack, maybe you got some friends in your WhatsApp, share the channel, share some love, because we're going to be going live a lot more, doing more sessions like this. So this is the start of something beautiful. I hope you guys all got a lot out of this. So much more value to come. Much love, y'all, and let's win together.